All right, so this is a bit of an update or an addendum, you could say, to the pan your rack video. And I'm going to put a lock on this. So I've got a way to slide the boxes on here, but I'm also going to have a way, today we're going to make a way to lock the boxes on there so that you could leave them in a parking lot, etc., and people couldn't take them off and walk away with your cool toolbox. We're going to do that today. First though, we got to remount the rack on the bike, and I'm going to use some fine thread bolts to do that. I've got some 3/8 24. And I've also got some nylock nuts to go on there as well. Alright, so I actually did end up getting the cooler version. In the previous video I showed that this was an option. A thing to note on the cooler is that it is different on the bottom than the toolbox version, because this is, you can see on the corners, like this is all filled in and smooth. Or if you look at the toolbox has these little openings, these little sort of tubes on the bottom here. And I'm actually going to be utilizing this tube to lock it onto the bike. I'm going to insert my own tube up in here and then lock that tube in. And then you won't be able to pull this thing off without a key. Because I had this thought when I designed piece here on the bottom that the toolbox slots into. I had these little holes here and these other smaller holes right there. That's the lock. That should be right where that tube on that opening on the toolbox is. That lines up perfectly with this guy here. I should be able to put a metal tube or whatever up through here into the toolbox, essentially locking that in place. And then this is for my other lock, because I'm going to be using a trailer hitch lock. This guy here. See, we got a little keyed lock there. And if I unlock this, you'll see that it locks onto, it's just a very simple little shaft here. So I can recreate this shaft on my lathe. So yeah, the concept is I can slide the box on here like I normally would. Lock it in place with this little tab that's built into the box. Then it's on the bike securely, but anybody that knows how to use this box could just pull it off and walk away with it, right? So now we've got a little tube, goes up inside this little hole here and inside the hole in the box. And now you can no longer pull this box out. It no longer will slide out this way to unlock the box from the rack here. All right, so now I've got my calipers here. I've got this guy here off of the original trailer hitch lock. I'm gonna measure this lock. There's a little divot inside there. The outside of this is 1/4 inch. I already know that. The little divot measurement is 0.163. I've got some 1/4 inch rod here. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in my lathe and get this set up. All right, so here's my end. Here's my end I've machined up. Now we've got this piece here, which will fit our 1/4 inch rod right through there, and then we're going to weld that 1/4 inch rod in there. All right, now I've got my little piece set up here on my welding table. I'm gonna go ahead and weld that in. I started by putting a couple tacks on the top side here. I'm gonna grind those off now, and then I've got it fully welded on the bottom. There's not enough clearance here with a weld on the top side for that lock to actually work. I'm gonna grind those off. All right, so here's our piece there. We've got another, this is another piece here that's exactly like the one on the bike, which is great for mocking stuff up like this. Go ahead and stick this onto this guy. We'll test it out with our lock. Lock that on there, and that's basically the idea. So now I'm gonna swing this piece around to where our little circle here is and trace that out. And now we should be able to weld on our tube. This guy here, and now we know where to put our tube. I'm gonna weld that on there, and we'll see where we're at. All right, so we just got a couple tacks on here so we can test this out. All right, that looks pretty great. Looks like it will work. Here is our piece. I've cleaned up some of the edges on here around there so it's not so sharp. But yeah, this is it, man. This is our little locking mechanism. Let's try it out on the bike. So here's our little mechanism. Stick it up in here. It goes up into this tube here, this part of the toolbox. You can see the little stud sticking out right there. Get our little lock mechanism. This guy goes over the top like that. We sort of squeeze this together, and bam, it is locked on there. Let's see if we can get the toolbox off now. So now I normally would go in here, pull this tab up, and yeah, it's locked on there now. So pretty good anti-theft mechanism, I think, for this setup that I've got. This one and only setup in the whole world. So it works for me. Someone else brought up in a previous video a good point as well. When I designed this, having a little lock mechanism on the back where it slides in and out this way, not as good as if it would have been if I flipped this around, where then you would slide the box in that way and all the wind forces and everything that are trying to throw this box off the bike would be basically pushing it back and keeping it on the bike. That would have been a better setup, and if I were to do it again, I would flip this box around for sure. But that's my lock mechanism. I hope you like it, and thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. All right, now clearly I can only do this with the toolbox version, and I can't do it with the cooler version because we don't have those little tunnels on the cooler. So cannot use this lock mechanism on that, which is unfortunate. I just didn't have a cooler when I was designing the bottom here like this. I didn't have a cooler on hand, so I didn't know what it was like on the bottom. If anybody has any cool ideas for how to do the cooler, let me know. But at the moment, there's no lock on my cooler, so please don't steal it.